Welcome back to Meg's Mysteries. This story is called Total Darkness. Hi, I'm Meg, and this story idea comes from my sister Carol. She comes up with some interesting story ideas, and I love that she shares them with me. September 24th, 2023. We are in constant communication. I read her daily messages, and we share laughs and share everything. This time she writes of the end of September. She reads a report that there will be 3 days of total darkness. What will happen in 3 days of total darkness? Something will mess with all the electric items, water systems, and food supplies. All communications will cease. How will we cope? Many will feel like it's the end of days. How will you cope? Some of us old timers know how. We come up from the age of no computers in every home, no cell phones. We only had house phones if we were lucky. We can survive on the basics. We depending on newspapers and news reports on the TV that only came out once a day. The evening news, but not every minute of the day with news 24/7. We knew how to survive on our wits. How do you think this generation of technology at the touch of their fingers, how will they do when everything goes black? It's not their fault. That's how they're brought up with all these conveniences. Another thing Carol reminds me of the first event is a story of the children of Fatima, a vision three children had that predicted 3 days of total darkness, and it came true in 1917. You should look it up. It was very interesting. Their predictions were, was it a fluke, a miracle, or a warning? Or is this going to be some crazy unscheduled eclipse? The next one is due October 14th, 2023. It's reported to last only a minute and 24 seconds in some places. The longest time will be 4 minutes 52 seconds in different places. But not 3 days. With all this crazy weather and the earth changing, maybe the timing of the eclipse can change too? What do the scientists know? Can this really happen? Well, here's my fictional story of total darkness. Sit back and relax and let me know what you think. September 28th, 29th, and 30th, 2023. 3 days of total darkness. Kat and Stephen are driving to their cabin for the weekend. The weather turns from a beautiful sunny day to dark cloudy skies. The winds are picking up. Kat says, "Boy, you can't count on the weathermen these days. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend, a beautiful fall weekend." Stephen says, "Well, it might clear up when we get there. I love the cabin anyway, and we need a break from the city." They get there and the storm is raging. They hurry inside with a few supplies, and they'll get the rest later when it clears up. The cabin was well stocked from the last time with canned goods and dry goods, firewood and water. Kat says, "I'm glad we left the supplies from the last time." Stephen got the fireplace blazing, and they had coffee and sandwiches for lunch. So they sat down to relax. The rain was still coming down, and the darkness, blackest of darkest night, was all around them. And it was only 3 p.m. But at least they were safe inside. Kat keeps herself busy with her newest mystery novel. Stephen was catching up on Facebook and YouTube channels on his phone. And then all of a sudden the phone goes dead. He's puzzled. He said, "I have all my bars in a full charge. I never had trouble here before at the cabin. Always had good reception. Must be the storm." Kat says, "You have to find something else to do. Read a real book or do a puzzle. Put the phone away and rough it." Then all of a sudden the power goes out. The generator stops. They get out candles and lanterns. It was nice and cozy, but very strange. The storm, it must be the storm, Stephen says. "So early to bed, tomorrow it'll clear up." Kat looks outside. It didn't stop. It was still total darkness, and it was only 6 p.m. September 29th. Coffee smells wake Stephen up. Cat is in the kitchen. Still candles and lanterns are on. The cabin was still dark. He looks outside and it looks like midnight, but it's 6 a.m. Boy, this is creepy. Cat says, tell me about it. I had to check my watch to see. I thought it was still night, but it was morning, but still black outside. That was some storm. Are we due for an eclipse? That's what it looks like, so dark. No, not until October 14th this year, Stephen said. He loves the eclipse and always tracks them and goes out to watch them. Cat says, well, it could be early this year. He said, no, it's been too long darkness. It's been hours since it happened, and it's going on for 2 days now. It started yesterday when we got here. It can't be an eclipse. I'll go out and check the car radio for the weather and news. Then he goes out, and the car is dead. He gets flashlights from the shed, and then gets 2 bikes and cleans them off of the cobwebs. Then he goes inside. Cat, we have to ride these old bikes to town. Hope you remember how. Aha, very funny. Once you learn to ride a bike, you never forget, she says. But it's still dark as night out. He said, we'll wait till it lightens up. But it never did. They waited till 1 p.m., and then they started out. The country road was creepy with no cars about. They used the flashlights to light the way. No sounds of animals or birds. Just darkness and quiet. They made it to town. Stephen went to the garage to get old Pete to take them back and look at the car. But everything was closed and no one was around. It was still dark as night. Just like the sun and the moon disappeared, the sky was just total darkness. Well, what do we do now? Cat asked. They tried the local store and the restaurant, but no one was there. A closed sign on both. Where is everybody? It feels like we're the only ones on Earth. So they looked around and knocked on some doors, but still no one. They took a chance and rode back to the cabin with the flashlights to light their way. It was a good thing Stephen brought extra batteries along. They got back to the cabin. What are we going to do? Cat says. She was starting to worry. Stephen said, we have enough supplies for 5 days, and we know how to survive without the comforts of home. He laughed to lighten up the situation. You always loved roughing it. This can't last for long. So they made dinner and read by the fireplace, then went to bed, but both had a restless night and waited for the morning light. September 30th. Still total darkness at 6 a.m. Now they're both getting worried. Cat says, I didn't want to tell you this, but I read an article about this. You had told me I was crazy, but here it is. At the end of September this year, total darkness for 3 days. Maybe it wasn't such a far-fetched prediction, but real. However, where did everyone go? Because it's dark and the power is off, and all technology is at a standstill? No communications? Did they just all panic? And where did they go? What do you think, Stephen? He just stared at her. Maybe it's the end of days, he said in a mysterious voice, and he laughed at her. Not funny, she said. Get serious. This is so spooky. He told her, it's not one of your mystery books. It has to have some logical explanation. Cat says, okay, Professor, you explain it. The whole day was total darkness and silent as a tomb. Sunday, October 1st, 2023. The sun is out and the birds are singing, a rustle in the woods from some animals at play. Cat wakes up. Stephen, it's a beautiful day, sunny and bright. Told you, he said. You were so worried that was the end. She smiles and said, well, we're still stuck here. The car is dead. So Stephen checks his phone, full charge and bars. Then he gets the garage number and he tries to call, but no answer. He calls the store and the restaurant. No answer. He just leaves messages. All of a sudden he gets a call. Sorry, I just got here. That was some doozy of a storm, said old Pete. I saw your note and message. I can come right away and check the car now. Stephen said, Great, we are here. It was a crazy 3 days. Pete tells him, Yeah, everyone in town took off, scared it was the end. Just because some glitches in technology, all the hubbub about the 3 days of darkness. It must have messed with them. Their imaginations took over. I knew it was nothing, but my Martha, my wife, she got so scared, so we took off to the city. But it was dark there too, power off all over the city for 3 days. Now back to normal, old Pete came by and checked the car. It started right up. We started for home. Kat said, Okay, now October 14th, the next eclipse. Are you still excited about it? Stephen said, I'll pass on this year. 3 days of total darkness was creepy enough. Kat laughed at him and said, Oh, you were scared too? Well, now life is back to normal for now. Home safe and sound. Was it a warning or just a fictional story? Maybe it can be a new show. Total Darkness Theater. I guess if you're listening to the story, we all made it out okay. See you in October for more mystery, suspense, and some good old ghost stories. Until next time on Meg's Mysteries. Have a good evening.